Hello everyone, my name is Paulo, and this one is gonna be sort of certainly not my last video on the Dark Souls series, just because I will continue playing these games, for sure. But what this is sort of a video where I will go through sort of my thoughts in general on the Dark Souls series, and I will do that while helping some people in co-op, because why not? Now, if I was a really good, actually, it's just if I wasn't lazy, really, because that's what it boils down to. Uh, if I wasn't lazy, what I would do is composite this sort of, I guess, opinion piece. I don't know, over playthroughs or gameplay shots of the different games, but instead I'll just do it Dark Souls 3. I lowered the game volume by a bit so that my voice is going to be mostly over it. I have just a short list of things. I will still kind of, I don't have anything prepared from editorial point of view, so I will still rumble a bit, and probably I will rumble while helping other people, so that will be, whoa, that was fast, Jesus. I will do that, yeah, I will do that while playing the game. So probably a better thing would be for me to write things down and then tell them over a video of me playing, but where's the fun on that? Hello. So I mean, I really want to start sort of considering giving the premise of this, which is I think it's obvious by now. I said it multiple times. I love the Dark Souls series. Like, it's certainly, before playing Dark Souls, I don't think I actually had an answer to the question, what is your favorite game? I was kind of like, well, a bunch of things, a bunch of games are my favorite. But after the Dark Souls games, clearly, what the answer is. And I always say the Dark Souls series. I never really say a specific game. Exactly because, I feel all of them are good. I don't really want to do like a top 10 Dark Souls games. Oh boy, this guy still hits like a truck. So I don't want to be like that. I still think like I will only concentrate on the I will only concentrate on the Dark Souls without talking about Bloodborne. And the reason, which is, I can probably say it here, is that I played Bloodborne right before 3, and I was kind of like, it wasn't the right time to play a Soul game for some reason, and I had like TV problems where only at the end of the game, actually no, only when I connected my PC to the TV, I discovered that I had like, the famous game mode on, which meant that basically I played the entire Bloodborne with like almost half a second delay, and the game kind of never felt good. So I played Bloodborne and I finished it, but I wasn't really, I didn't really get super into it, even though I liked everything from the design to the combat. It just felt weird. So what I'm gonna do, and also I didn't play the DLC because I just missed it as, I missed it as, I just missed the content. I just missed the sort of the entry point to the DLC. So what I'm going to do is surely replay Bloodborne, and I will either record it like I'm doing with my Dark Souls playthroughs, or I might actually play it live on Twitch like I did for my Horizon playthrough. So I will see about that. Anyway, all of that was probably way too long of sort of rambling for something that was not even part of the was even part of the actual point. What I was gonna say was all these thoughts are only for the Soul series, which I played a lot. I finished all games, did all bosses, did most of the special secret stuff, I think. I guess this person is trying to somebody else, so we can just sit here. That's perfect. Works for me. So in general, as I said, like, these are phenomenal games. Like, I've never had really an answer to the question, what is your favorite game? Now I do. I really, really love them. I want to start with that premise because I want to make sure that like when I talk to when I talk to other people about Dark Souls games, I always ask, well, do you want me to say how good this one is with respect to other Souls games or with respect to all other games? Because all Souls games are just like just like 3 steps above every other game that I played, and I still think like inside, I think I said that before, I my preference is still for the first one. I still think the first one was a perfect balance of all the design pieces, and a lot of the things that they did in the second and third, they kind of tried to change, and I feel like some of the things they tried to change just for change's sake rather than actually changing because it was a necessary change. So in general, with that premise, you know, I want to start from what I think. So this is, I should also say that like this is obviously my opinion. It's not like I'm not a reviewer. I'm just a dude playing video games. That's as far as my opinion should be taken. And this is just my personal opinion. Like, all video games that come out are a miracle because making video games is hard as balls, and all people involved did a phenomenal job because they created really good video games. And so saying that, I want to talk about what I feel for me makes Dark Souls a good game. So again, no objectivity here. What I like in Dark Souls games, it's that simple. Nothing about like what I think makes a good game in general. Again, what I like about the Dark Souls game. So in general, what you know, when I first played the first Dark Souls, I played it blind. I had a friend of mine sort of giving me just a few hints when I would remain stuck, which I think is a I would recommend anyone doing that. Like if you want to get a friend in Dark Souls, always be ready to kind of tell them what to do when they're locked so that they don't get super frustrated, but you know exactly what to also not tell them. So I think like that worked really well for me. I think, I don't know, might not work well for somebody else, but it would surprise me if it didn't. So what makes Dark Souls a really good game for me is, which really I should not say that, I should say what I like in the Dark Souls series is the combination of certainly mechanics, like, you know, you can call it whatever you want, hard but fair, you can call it in all the ways that you want to call it. So in general, I feel like the mechanics are definitely deserve like a first sort of like the I'm sort of rambling. Like they certainly occupy the most influential reason why I like the game. Diving into it, like I feel sorry, oh boy, man, fighting the boss while actually thinking about this stuff is not easy. Whoa. So I certainly feel like there are many components to it. It could be the mechanics. It is the mechanics of just the combat. I feel like I've always liked the what happens on screen is what is happening in the game. You know, rarely it does happen, but rarely you don't get hit. Like you don't get hit visually, and you get hit, you know, in your life bar, or the opposite. It looks like visually the arrow missed you, but you get hit. Like that happens so rarely, and the game feels really natural. With respect to that, it certainly is something that the team concentrated on. I don't know if it's true or not, but it seems weird that it wouldn't be for how well it's realized. So, like, given that, the other part that I really like is the entire world building, like, you know, narrative, like visual storytelling, like whatever you want to call it, like especially in the first Dark Souls, and that's where sort of I'm gonna start diverging between the different games. In the first Soul, like, you're just in this environment which is nothing like too magical, right? You have this story, it's just a classic medieval epic story of, oh, these are like the land of the gods, and the gods were here, and then they got mad, and then something happened, and I feel like it does such a good job at just like realizing this calm, like decadent world, that I really feel very, very few games do. Very, very few. And really, that's what's good about it. Like, it doesn't go, oh crap, okay. It doesn't do anything crazy to achieve that. It just like really pays attention to like consistency in the world design, trying to differentiate the areas in a way that where the world still feels real, and realistic, not real as in real world, real as in like consistent. I think it's the better world. Like, they are really good at that, and I feel like the environmental storytelling is only made better by the fact that the mechanics of the game are reflected into the world. Like, this is a world that is fully consistent. Like, Dark Souls is the first video game I've ever played where it totally made sense that when you die, you respawn. And you actually don't think it as, this is a video game thing, like a gamey thing. You don't think it as, oh, they had to do it because, you cannot finish the game, right? But instead, it just makes sense, and it has internal consistency with the way the world works. And that's such a good achievement, and it helps making that world feel alive and good. And I know good is not a good objective, but it really does help. Oh no. I think the guy died, yep. God, we were so close. Well, oh well. And I really feel like that helps a lot. And the sort of environmental storytelling is only made strong also by the level design. I mean, the Dark Souls series, I think, has amongst the best level design that honestly I've ever encountered in a video game. It's so good that it's one of those things that you don't understand what good level design is until you play Dark Souls. I mean, I know that's an exaggeration, but yeah, at least for me it was true. Like, I never really felt, oh, a good level design, I guess it's just a good level, a level that is not bad. And then I played Dark Souls and I was like, oh, wait a freaking second. That's what good level design is when all these parts play together to form this final product. Like, that was the sort of the moment where I was like, whoa, okay, this is mind-blowing. And sort of the play between the two elements of gameplay and environmental storytelling and the level design really helps creating these worlds that are just interesting to explore, absolutely breathtaking, and just it kind of like awe-inspiring. That's the word I was looking for. Like, it's just sometimes good to go around and through these environments and take it all in. I mean, I say sometimes I think I said it happened in my playthroughs where I say, so I think like sometimes the best moments of the Dark Souls series is when the game is quiet. The quiet moments, I really love those. When it's just weird. I don't know what it is about those. I cannot put it in words what it is about those levels and what elements are making this possible. But really, they really feel like places where people have been in. They feel like places that were real. I don't know. It's such a good achievement that I really wanted to mention that. Now, going into the I think I said, let me check my list. Yeah, I said, I guess a few more words on the mechanics. Like, I really love the combat, absolutely. Like, I'm planning on doing soul level 1 runs and all that stuff, but because I really enjoyed, I remember my RTSR run, because it's sort of like it makes you play the game in a different way, which is something that you wouldn't ever do in a different run, or rather in a normal run, So I feel like it adds sort of a fresh layer to the game. So I'll certainly do more of that. Um, oh, he's almost dead. He's almost to the second phase. Let's see if I can do it. Oh, boom! There you go. And but I mean, all the mechanics of the souls and like they all make sense with what the story is. And this is where I start like saying which one is my favorite, because I really feel like Dark Souls 1 is definitely the best one in terms of blending those mechanics with the story. And I should have put a premise at the beginning. I'm not like a lore stir guy. Like, I don't know a lot about the lore. All I know is from videos that other super talented people did. I'm not, even when I play the game, I kind of take it all in, but I really, I read item descriptions, but I don't go out of my way to learn about something. I don't do all the crazy connections that people do online. So given that premise, what I liked about the Dark Souls 1 story was that, one, it was a complete story. Like, as much as I loved the Dark Souls games, and I could play a new one every year. The reality is the Dark Souls 1 story didn't need a sequel. Like, the Dark Souls 1 story is very complete. Oh boy, is complete. Man, like, that's, it's only me and the host of Ember. That's harsh. As long as he distracts him, I can. Oh boy, this is gonna be hard. Man, 6 S's for this fight though. Fuck. And I feel like it's a complete story. There was a time when nothing was happening, and now it's a time when the world is dying, and the gods that live in that world are trying to do everything to make it survive a bit longer. And you are sort of a passive actor, or I mean, you are an active actor, but like, you are a pawn. You're not really the hero that saves everything. Oh boy. Yeah, sorry, IR Jane 970. I don't think he's gonna do it because he has so much life now. The boss has so much life. In general, like, I want to fight a boss where I actually have a chance of helping, because I feel like this boss fight is actually worse with more people. Yeah, really none of the DLC bosses. Let's see if anyone needs help with the Nameless King. Usually people do. And the story was complete, and you're this pawn that is basically being played by all the actual actors that take part in the story, between the Primordial Serpents to the thing, and the DLC kind of explained all the bits that were missing from the original story, and it really closed the circle on it. That's where I feel, especially Dark Souls 3 is failing the most, honestly. Because I feel like Dark Souls 1 is a complete story. Dark Souls 2 was also a very small, almost intimate story about Vendrick and how he sort of, different world, different time, the same story repeats, right? That's the concept of Dark Souls. Everything is a cycle. You will extinguish the flame. Whether you will extinguish the flame or you will bring it back, sooner or later, it's a cycle. Things are going to start anew. That's sort of the main plot of Dark Souls 1, which plays really well into the New Game Plus stuff. Like, the idea of New Game Plus in Dark Souls 1 is that you're basically replaying another cycle of the same for the same story, right? And Dark Souls 2 was really good on that. It was like, oh, what happens, like, let's actually see, instead of, unlike Dark Souls 1 where all the story of Gwyn and all of that, it sort of sits in the background and you are playing after. It is the same for Vendrick, like, you're playing after he did everything, but he's still alive, right? Nashandra is still alive. It's like, this is a world where the fire is fading again, and a king who tried to stop it failed, and now you have to come in. And I'm kind of butchering the story, of course, but the idea is it applies the same cycle thing to the to a different story, which I feel like is really really interesting. And it's only like a really good story in my opinion. In terms of gameplay, I feel like the biggest problem between 1 and 2 is that 2 is kind of a mess of like progression, just because if you think about what you have to do in 2, like it's really sort of nonsensical. Like the second part of the game, which is the second part of the game, which is the part of, you know, chasing Vendrick in the catacombs, and it's a mess. Like you have to go to the castle. You think you're gonna find Vendrick. Oh boy, man, I don't remember the details of this fight. You think you're gonna find Vendrick, but you're actually only halfway through the game. And what really happens is that you have to like chase him down this like, admittedly like really beautiful area, like the Shrine of Amana, and then you need a key to go back to a thing that he was keeping in his room, like, and then from there you get a thing, and then you go, oh no, and actually for no reason you need to have 1,000,000 souls, and after you get 1,000,000 souls you can open a door which is blocked by just some rubbles, like some like destroyed wall that you could totally jump over in real life. It's just a mess. Like it is just a disaster of like what of sort of continuity and like putting all the pieces together. Like I feel the pieces, oh boy, I really don't remember this boss. I really feel like the pieces in Dark Souls 2 are good, but the way they're put together, they are just a disaster in my opinion. So I don't know, like I feel like I always kind of liked Dark Souls 2 anyway. I never really played the Dark Souls 2 sort of original game. I only played the Scholar of the First Sin edition, just because of timing. Like when Dark Souls 2 came out, I think I had not even played Dark Souls 1, so in terms of game, again, I still like it. I feel like it added a lot of no, why am I getting only bad hosts? People need to roll more. Like when you have somebody else helping you, try to be alive. Make them die. Like I'm saying, against my interest, make me die. Don't die yourself. Oh well. And yeah, like even 2 was kind of a closed story. It was kind of a mess, you know. They did like the Aldia thing, and they had to do Scholar of the First Sin to actually make it work. It was kind of messy for sure, but it was still a good story to tell. And then Dark Souls 3 comes out, and I have no idea what the fuck is going on in Dark Souls 3. Like, there's really this thing with the fire, and there's not the concept of the undead, but now you're the Ashen One, and there's this concept of like the fire is fading, so all the lands are converging onto the central world of something. And on top of everything, like, it basically once again kind of does what Dark Souls 1 was doing, but without the build up and sort of, in a way, I don't want to be too heavy on it, but like paying the respect that Dark Souls 1 did, which is like, if you analyze all the fights of Dark Souls 3 and Dark Souls 1, right? Like, I'll just take the more egregious one, which is Soul of Cinder. Like, in Dark Souls 1, you have heard about this Gwyn from even before you start the game. From the cinematic, there's this mighty lord, this mighty god. It's not even a lord, he's a god, who struck down the dragons, and he won the war against dragons, and then he conquered the souls, and he split them between different people, blah blah blah. And then he created a great kingdom. Like, you hear about Gwyn from the beginning of the game, for the entire game. You see all his heritage. You see where he has been. You see what he left behind. You see all these things that give it give it a weight. Like the final encounter, I still think is one of the best boss fights because of the combination of that gameplay and lore. Like the final encounter, it's basically you see a totally consumed man. At this point, he has gone mad just because of the he's grasping, he's seeing his demise. Like he looks in that tiny flame and he knows that's all he has left, and he goes mad because of it. And when you walk in, he attacks you ferociously. He doesn't like, I like that fight because honestly I still think it's hard. Like if you don't parry him, I still think it's a hard fight, but maybe that's just me. But he just attacks you with such a violence, and it's just the violence of a madman who has everything to lose. That's, you're touching the last thing that makes sense for him, the last thing that makes him what he is, right? Like it's, that fight is so full of meaning, and then you cut to Soul of Cinder, and you're like, what? Who is this guy? Like literally, you have never heard about him. The only thing you heard about him is you saw him on the box cover. That's about it. And it's like, really? That's how this is going? Like, because that's a really weird thing to like, I know it's a really weird thing to point out, but I really think it's the I really honestly think that's like, it loses a lot. And then like, you know, technically it might be like a phenomenal fight, right? Like I don't want to take that away from the design of the fight itself, but the reality is that, you know, oh boy, oh, which one is that? Oh, fire. Oops, I don't think, oh, I think I hit. Can I get at least a hit on the head, please? No, okay. I really think in terms of the just the lore design, I honestly think it's just poor. Like I really don't think Soul of Cinder is good. It kind of makes no sense also. Like you really don't know who he is even until the end. You just know it's this powerful soul who blah blah blah, but who cares, right? Like that doesn't give it any meaning. You're just telling me what it is instead of like making me go through the game and understand why he's there, who he is. Like I really, and then Dark Souls 3 spends way more time trying to like answer questions that nobody really asked to it. And again, as usual, I'm talking about my preference, not globally. But like, Gwyn's story was a done story. That's it. Nobody needed to know where his sons go. And the secret of good storytelling is you tell a better story by not telling everything than telling everything about your story and your world. Like Dark Souls was good. Oh shit, he might charge me. Okay, Dark Souls was good exactly because some things were left in a mystery, right? Like, oh, killed it. So the reality is I feel like Dark Souls 3, it is basically the guy who answers the questions that like, no, nobody, can you, no, we were leaving the movie theater, don't say anything, we're good, and no, I want to tell you the story. It's like, no, I don't need the story, I really don't need the story. And yeah, I don't know, it just feels like it did that, and like it feels like the level design is only, while mechanically it's still really great, it's still only in service of the mechanics. It's not in service of building a world anymore. Like it's really hard for me to follow the world in Dark Souls 3, and I know there's the excuse of, and so Dark Souls 2 in a way suffers from the same flaw, but even in Dark Souls 3 I know there's the excuse of like all the worlds are converging. But it's still, I mean, sure, you can use that excuse, but then it's still a valid criticism to say that it's not, that it doesn't feel like it's well put together. Again, I want to like say a few good points. Like I feel like mechanically, 3 is definitely the best realization of the game. Kind of naturally because, you know, it's a third iteration in a game. That's normal. Like everyone now knows how to use the tools. Everyone knows what players want, probably too much I would say, but it's not only like design wise, both mechanically and level, it's really strong. I still think like the world building itself of Dark Souls 1 is unmatched. But in terms of encounter design, it's still really, really good. And you know, all the technical things like the PC ports are the best. Like the newer the games are, the better the PC ports are. Dark Souls 1 still doesn't have a good PC port. If you don't play with the DS fix, it's basically a disaster. So, in general, I do want to say, like, in terms of, like, that was a bad roll. But, hey, it's 2 hits for one. In terms of mechanical design, you know, 1 had a lot of flaws. It had the problem of, oh, you need to pop souls individually, which I know is stupid, but it actually adds up. Go for it, go for it! Well, he didn't go for it. No, flame, run. Oh, I could have. And again, I kind of, like, I never really knew what, oh, I was rolling there. I never really knew what I was supposed to do. Like, it was kind of going forward for going forward reason. I feel like the game is really weirdly about Aldrich for the first half, and then it becomes about all the other lords. And that's just because they do the same thing that they did in the first game, which is you hear about Aldrich and what he has done for basically the first half of the game. You see all his you see basically his traces of him in the world, and I cannot get that roll right. He's dead. So yeah, like, there's kind of that weird dissonance between like what the story wants to be and closing the series, and also in terms of just the story itself and how the world is presented with respect to the story, is that, like, look at Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2 honored the legacy of Dark Souls 1 really well, right? Like, it says basically this is a world that comes eons after the events of Dark Souls 1, and as we know, where the fuck is the boss? As we know, like, this is a cycle, so it's going to repeat no matter what. Oh boy. Boy. I'm bad. Oh, I'm dead. Oh, wow. Wow. Fuck, dude. Oh, okay, yeah, do that. Oh no, that was not a good time to... Oh. Man, I've forgotten that this boss is actually hard. No, why did you do that, dude? Don't tell me you're dead. No, you're... Okay, 700 damage. It's not bad. So, okay, I'm trying to destroy... No! Don't die! Fuck, he's dead. Well. And, where was I? Yeah, like, look at the difference between the world building in Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3. Like, Dark Souls 2, you see traces of the old world, but they're, like, forgotten. People have no idea what that is. Like, people are just... They're now living in this new world, which is the story of Vandrick. It's about the giants. It's about how he walked, like, he went across the seas. It's about, like, how the soul of the Dark Soul still lives in the Queen, and the Queen was able to deceive him to kind of make this war against the giant and control the power of souls, and then he failed at it. Like, it's still such a good story, but it's completely unrelated to Dark Souls 1, right? It's just it's another iteration of the cycle. Dark Souls 3 instead opens that feels like the Tuesday after Dark Souls 1, where it's like, oh shit, the fire is fading and the world is ending, but like, you seem to be... There isn't that feeling, which I feel is really good, which is of being sort of stuck in a timeless zone of Dark Souls 1 and 2, it's like you feel, it's kind of like you feel the cycle. You feel like this is an infinite thing and you're just a small part of it. And it's something that Dark Souls 1 and 2 do really well. But for some reason, I think Dark Souls 3 fails terribly at it. It feels like Dark Souls 3 feels like it takes place in like at the last second. There. Oh no, I still fucked it up. There is a bit of a delay. I wonder if I'm fucking up the rolls because of the lag. Oh crap! Come on. I hate when it does that. Oh, don't die, dude! Don't die! And oh no! Why did I heal? Run away! Run away! Sure, I'm gonna take all the heat. And Dark Souls 3 literally feels like it happens in a couple of days because it's just, oh shit, now it's when all this shit is happening, the sun is exploding in the sky, and like the lords are supposed to be in their throne but they aren't. And again, it's like, what is happening? Like, why am I the chosen one? I've never been the chosen one in the previous games. So much so that like Dark Souls 2, it starts when you meet the Firekeeper. It starts with her even questioning you. She asks, "Oh, are you the next king?" Because a lot of you pass by and you might not even be the next king. Which is, I feel it's a good like sort of metaphor for how many people don't finish the game. And in general, like Dark Souls 3 kind of loses that elegance in terms of story. So that's all I'm gonna say about the story. I really feel like it's certainly the weakest part of Dark Souls 3, and especially for how strong it is in the series. Like, this is a game where, unlike any other game, I spend countless hours on YouTube, and I bet that, I mean, by definition, if you're watching this video, you are too. But I bet that like everyone knows the Vadividya videos, the what is it? Like, I don't remember all the names of, but like I watched so many hours of content about the lore implications of Dark Souls 1 and 2 prep. But the reality is that everything I watched about Dark Souls 3 was very disappointing because it was just people speculating on things that honestly I did not give a shit about, because that's not what the Dark Souls thing was about. Like, I really don't care about is the Nameless King the other, like, Gwyn's son. If it is, it's actually really bad. I was hoping way more. I was liking way more the story where maybe Solaire was it and we kind of didn't know it. Like, it's such a better story. Again, to me, like, I don't want to be a... Oh, I rolled that. I totally rolled that. And... Oh, do the attack, no? Man, it's weird that he didn't stagger. Man, like, we are hitting him both with heavy weapons. You would expect him to stagger. Oh crap. Dude, survive. That's all you need to do. As the host, you need to just survive. Oh, come on. Oh, he's gonna do it. Ah, god damn it. Hopefully Ratzu is gonna beat it. He's down, but I mean, it's still pretty hard because he has a lot of life. No! Oh, yes! Oh man, I wish he could stay here seeing if he beats it or not. You know, about 2, like, I still think 2 is a really good game. But yeah, oh no, I was saying about the story of 3. Yeah, like, the entire... Just, I don't know, like, it just feels completely disconnected. And then the DLC is just... What? There's like this... Like, the Ashes of Ariandel and now the Ring City, like, they are both... I mean, again, mechanically they're good. Apart from one thing that I want to say about the Dark Souls 3, which is the part that I like less about the entire game. But, both DLCs kind of open a story that really nobody wanted to know. I don't know. I don't want to. Maybe I don't want to say that because that's just not for me, and that's not. I'm saying like, I'm implying something more general. Like, I feel like, to me, like, I didn't really care how paintings were done in Dark Souls. They're not really telling me anything about the story of Dark Souls that I don't know already. Like, even the Ring City stuff, how much time they spend on Gale, which was just this person who gave you a piece of the painting, just to access the previous DLC. Like, I don't know. I like feel like lore wise it was such a bad. I don't know. Lore wise it was just pointless to me. And on top of that, there's there is now the problem of, not the problem, but there's the thing where, like, okay, maybe at the very end there's gonna be some conclusion to this, and instead what happens is that at the end you give the blood to the painter and she says, oh, basically thank you, and it's like, whoa, what just happened? Like, I really thought something was gonna happen with that painting and giving the blood to the painter. Like, she even asked my name. Maybe something does happen, I just don't know it. And if that's the case, I apologize for the uninformed opinion. But looking up online, nobody knows what it's doing right now. So it kind of feels like it doesn't do anything. And at some point, if it's so mysterious that people cannot figure it out, it might as well be something that that doesn't count. But you know. So I mean, that's in general like my first the first part that I don't like about 3. I want to say a few things about 2. I already said I only played Scar of the First Sin. Mechanically, it is a better game, but I do feel like it doesn't. I don't know how I want to say this. Like, it doesn't have the courage to stick to its design choices. Like, look at the Estus stuff. They were like, oh, from the beginning, the Estus is a scarce resource, and you're gonna have to, like, find things throughout the... Man, I cannot get that roll right. You're gonna have to find things throughout the world to make your Estus better, but we're gonna give you gems. Oh, you're gonna wait. Every time you're gonna die, it's gonna be meaningful because you're going to get closer to hollowing, which is represented by having a lower maximum lifetime, but there's a ring that avoids that. Like, every single sort of choice was made, and then there was a step back in, yeah, but let's actually not go 100% in that direction. And that is always kind of... I don't want to give too much trouble to the developers. Again, premise of all I'm saying, phenomenal games anyway, but still it feels like they weren't like fully committed in their choices, and that always feels weird when that happens. Apart from that, too, I particularly dislike the fact that it was basically an anti-speedrunner game, like changing all the interactions to not have iframes at the beginning. And the biggest offense to me is tying rolling and iframes to a skill that you have to level up. That's just bogus. Like, why the hell would you do that? Because why would you not level that one up? Of course people will want to level that up, but then I have to waste a bunch of levels just so that my rolls actually work. And that, I feel like, is a failure in my... I mean, again, especially with the style I play. It could be that other people felt it less offensive just because of the way they play. I can totally respect that. It's just, this is a matter of how I play and how the game is different for me, or rather how the game is different from other people because of the play style. So having said that, I still think lore-wise Dark Souls 2 does something interesting, which is it doesn't answer any question, but it presents another iteration of the same another iteration of kind of the same story, but from a different point of view, and it gives you more of an idea of what happens if you actually went through that story ages in the future, how would that play? So I feel like that still gives it some points from a certain point of view, and it still goes back to 3 not doing any of that stuff, right? Which is, I think, again, the 2 biggest sins that 3 commits, in my opinion, are 1, paying too much, like playing too much on the nostalgia factor of like, hey, this is Onion Bro. And again, this is the way I perceived it. It's not, certainly not the way it is. I don't know anything about the development, and I don't want to be too unfair. Again, premise, really good game, but it really feels like a game that is designed by a fan, for a fan, in a way that, in my opinion, kind of misses the point of what was good about the first Dark Souls. Like, Onion Bro was such a good story. And again, it was a good story in the way lore and story played together, right? He could help you with some areas, but the reality was that he was kind of a failed knight, and you helping him actually made his existence worse. Because at the end, he ends up going mad and being killed by his daughter. And like, it's such a tragic, well-realized story that if you put it right up against the Onion Bro in Dark Souls 3, it's like, what the fuck is that? That's just a guy who just cheers when you do something. It's the equivalent of like a well-timed joke or a meme said randomly for no reason. Like, hey, what time is it? Over 9,000, lol. And it's like, what? Okay, I guess. Okay, goodbye. There's that weird, sort of fan, almost pandering, like fan just like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, just like doing the shit because I know people are going to go, oh man, that is cool, let's make a GIF and show it on the internet, which at the end of the day, that's what marketing wants. And I don't know why, like, it wasn't necessary. Like, Dark Souls 2 did such a better job at creating a world that still had some remnants of the old world, but presented in a new way. It's kind of like Dark Souls 2. Okay, let's see if I can roll. Oh, there you go. Oh, no way, I still got hit, really? Because I felt like I rolled right at the last second. Oh, crap. Oh, crap. Oh, crap. Oh, well. Like, Dark Souls 2 feels like going through sort of ancient Romance ruins. It really does. Like, which is... this is a modern world, and these things are in front of me, but for the few things that I see, I can determine what was going on. And I can get, like, a bit of the story. And Dark Souls 3 instead, it just places a random thing because long, right? And that's just, I feel like, you know, I don't want to use words that are too strong, but it really feels almost disrespectful. Because it really feels, when I say that it feels made from a fan, by a fan for fans, it really feels like it's somebody that says, oh, I'm really gonna pay respect to this, and actually kind of misses the point. Which is weird, because as far as I know, it's the same director. Now, the other part, which is the second point that I don't like about Dark Souls 3, is that I think it treats, like, difficulty in a weird way, which is, you know, oh, I was still doing the animation, nice. You know, Dark Souls is a difficult game. I don't want to, like, you know, I don't want to talk too much about that, but, like, people say hard but fair, which I think is a fairly fair characterization for, no pun intended, but, I feel like the first game, it's certainly easier, right? And, I mean, I actually agree, that's not necessarily true. Like, I agree with what I think Lobo said in one of his streams, which was the easiest soul, the hardest soul is the first one you play because you don't know what to expect, right? But I still think that some bosses in the second and some bosses in the third one are just, like, What the fuck are you doing, man? Like, at some point, sure, designers can just put a slide, modify a slider, and give infinite life to a boss. Still, like, at that point, what's the point of it? Like, oh, man, oh, do it, yes! Man, I do some damage. That's not what I wanted to do. Oh boy. Heal. Sorry, I got distracted there. And that's the thing, right? Like this fight is still good, but I really think at some point the game goes out of its way to just create the most hardcore fight. And I don't think, at least for me, it's not the only part that is good about Dark Souls. And if anything, it's not the most important part that is good about Dark Souls. Like, the bosses are definitely fun, and at the end of the day, this is a boss game, but I still love to explore the world and seeing in the boss something that had meaning, like discovering the story and the world through the boss, rather than just, oh, this is an area, and at the end, there's a big dude that is gonna beat your shit up. Like, it just feels kind of empty in a way. Which brings me to, you know, what is sort of the best, worst fight. Like, look at the fight. I still think Artorias is a really good fight, right? But why is it a good fight? Like, Artorias is a good fight because you have heard about this knight, probably even more than Gwyn. You have heard about how righteous he is, how, like, you know, sort of, caring about doing the right thing he is. He's the exemplar of, like, he's the perfect knight. He lost everything to fight the dark. Like, it doesn't get any better than that, right? And you, again, you see traces of his life throughout the entire, oh, he has the ring armor, which is actually really cool. Throughout the entire world, you see all his traces, and the thing is, that fight is so meaningful because nobody knows about him, right? Like, he's Artorias of the Abyss. He's the one who walked the Abyss. Like, as far as people know, he defeated the Abyss. You're the only one who knows the real story, which is that he actually got overwhelmed by the Abyss and he lost. And that's where, like, I think that fight makes sense, where... Oh god, was that the Host of Embers? No, it wasn't. Okay. Although the Host of Ember might be that. Oh no, he's not. Cool. Oh, that's a really... Oh, you're gonna do flames 2 times? Oh no, okay. But that's where, like, that fight is good. Apart from being, sure, mechanically a really good fight. Oh boy, I just got that in the face, basically. Apart from being mechanically a really good fight, which for sure it is a fight that is super meaningful, right? This is like, one, he is like a destroyed man. He's a husk of a man at this point. He's not a knight. He's not the Knight Artorias that you heard about. He's just what remains of him. He has a broken arm, which was his the arm he used to wield his sword. And you know, I always liked. I think I said this on the Don't Give Up Skeleton podcast when I was invited by Jeremy one time. Whereas, like, it gives me goosebumps. Like, it's every time he screams, he's not screaming because he's mean. He's screaming because he doesn't want to fight you, but he has to because he's overwhelmed by the Abyss, right? Like, you have this entire piece that has been built up for like hours that you've played the game, and it makes sense, right? It's basically the final puzzle piece, and it's so good that your act is not really an heroic act as much of an act of pity with respect to him, because at the end of the day, nobody's gonna remember you as a hero, because the Elizabeth tells you, hey, basically she says, hey, is it okay if we keep this between us, because people kind of think Artorias is cool. Can we just leave it that way and not? Can you omit the part where he was actually possessed by the dark? Because that's kind of a bummer. Like, it's so good in that. It's so good. And then you go to the Abyss Watchers, which are like, what? These are the guys who are supposed to fight the Abyss, and instead, even though it's many of them, they get overwhelmed, and they literally live on top of a fucking catacombs. Like, and I know people can say, well, that's why they are possessed by the Abyss, is because they got possessed and now they are on the entrance of the catacomb. But like, it just doesn't play well. And again, it's crazy because mechanically it's still an interesting fight, because it mimics a fight that is really good mechanically. So it turns out mechanically means that it's also going to be a really good fight. But still, I think it's sort of like a really well-served dish that is not anything really. That at the end of the day is just like a leaf of lettuce with some truffle oil on it, and you can garnish it as much as you fucking want, but it's always gonna be that. And I feel like that's that was sort of part of the second point of what I like less about Dark Souls 3, which is centered way more around the difficulty of it rather than the actual meaning of the fights. And yeah, I mean, I feel like, let's see, let me go through the let me go through my points. I think it kind of sums up my entire thoughts on the series. As I said at the beginning, like, I love this series. I wouldn't be here recording a video, helping other people playing the game, after I beat it 3 times, 4 times already. Like, I absolutely love the series. For that reason, I feel like I'm probably overly critical of it, just because I liked it that much. It's not just, hey, this was a good game, 8 out of 10, and leave. I deeply care about it. I feel like I really hope other developers will learn some of the design lessons that Dark Souls in general, the Dark Souls series is teaching. And I hope they'll learn the right ones, because I feel like there have been games, sort of soul-like games, like I really liked Salt and Sanctuary. I really feel like it actually grasped what I liked about the Soul game. I don't know why it's not everyone thinks that. And I was listening to a podcast when they were talking about it, and I didn't really get a good impression of why they didn't feel it was the Bonfire Set chat, and they liked the game, but they didn't feel it was like, or at least from the way they talked about it, I felt they didn't feel it was a close game to the Soul games as much as I think it is. That was kind of a convoluted sentence, but I really like the game. I might do another run of that. I played it on PS4, and I didn't really have any streaming setup at the time that I played it, so I didn't really record it, but I might in the future. So yeah, we'll see if I'll have the time to do another playthrough, record it, and put it online. But if I do, I'll surely either stream it or record it. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, these are phenomenal games. I really think From Software created something that is really hard to replicate. I didn't really talk about Demon's Soul. I also really like Demon's Soul. It's just a matter of, I think Lobos says this a lot. Demon's Soul? Oh, you mean Dark Souls Beta? Because that's basically what it is. Demon's Soul is really good in the world building. Probably better than... I honestly feel better than Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3. In terms of world building. In terms of, like, also the level design. Like, I feel Demon's Soul is way more of a horror game that people give it credit to. But in a really weird way. Um, it's actually really oppressing, which is what I like about both Demon Soul and Dark Souls. Um, but yeah, I didn't talk too much about Demon Soul. I still loved it a lot. Let's see, if I get summoned, I might keep on rambling for a bit longer and do another fight. Otherwise, I might just call it even. I like that the cloth can twist around you. Let's see, I think I said everything. Again, like, the two parts that are, I guess, less good in my opinion about Dark Souls 3 are really a bummer, because I feel like mechanically Dark Souls 3 is the strongest. Um, just because of like being a newest game, and like, I actually wouldn't have minded more healing items. I think the advantage of life gems is that they allowed you to explore an environment, and you would keep 3 to 5 Estus flask, which was enough to get out of any fight, and then fix the chip damage and all the damage that you would get randomly with gems, which meant that you didn't have to, every time you found a bonfire, reset the area. So I felt like it allowed for better exploration, which is something that I personally like a lot. Like, I really like clearing an area and then exploring that area thoroughly, like going around and seeing all the stuff that there is to see. And that's where, for example, I feel like the difficulty ramp up in Dark Souls 3 ruins it for me, because I really think like the environments, man, they're so beautiful, because it's only like the best implementation of their tech, and it is obvious how more comfortable the designers and the level designers and level artists are with the tools, because they just create something that is just better. Like, I think it's just better. Like, it's just so beautiful in such a well realized world. But one, it feels a bit empty because of that lack of connection to the story, really. Apart from like these tidbits that really I don't think are super satisfactory, like, oh, there's this story about this thing, and it's like, okay, sure, you put it there, but it doesn't justify the environment. You just put it there. It's almost the opposite. You put it there so that you could justify the environment, or you can justify something small, rather than designing your environment around an overarching sort of society design and story design. But again, like, when the game is so hard, it basically stops you from being able to explore it freely, which I feel is the part that probably hurt me the most in Dark Souls 3, especially like in the 2 DLC. It's like, oh, I really want to explore these areas, but oh, there's a gigantic wolf and giants that have infinite life that basically make exploring this a pain in the ass. And I really feel the Ring City probably suffer from that the most. Both the Dark Souls 2 DLCs did, but at that point in Dark Souls 2 there was the life gem thing that would kind of balance that out, just because of the ability to being able to continue exploring a level and not having to reset enemies at the bonfire, because you could just pop life gems and not drink Estus. So and they were so cheap after a while that it was super common to go around with 100 life gems and be good. Yeah, I mean, in general, oh, I stuttered, which usually is a sign of the game trying to connect to another game, I think. In general, again, I say, like, absolutely phenomenal game. I mean, I think it's a good, it's a good stopping point. Let me cancel the summon sign. They're absolutely phenomenal games. There's no shit around it. Like, they're absolutely incredible games. I really congratulations to Front Software for creating such a crazy series of games, and I'm really looking forward getting deep into Bloodborne and do a slow run of that game. I skipped so much content the first time that is basically for half of, I skipped all the DLC. I skipped the what's the snowy castle, Canehurst Castle, I think it's called. I skipped all of that. Oh boy, oh god, I thought I was gonna die. I skipped so much content that that half of the game is basically good. Oh, I skipped all Upperworld Cathedral, I think. So much of the game is going to be new to me, and I played it so long ago, and it's so different from the Dark Souls games that it's going to be super new. And the interesting thing is that I'm going to stream it live, because the only way to record on PS4, since I don't have a capture card, is for me to play it, stream it on Twitch, and then I'll do the same thing that I'm doing with Horizon, which is stream it on Twitch and then put it on my YouTube channel. But overall, I want to say, like, once again, these are phenomenal games. They're pieces of art. I really hope that more game developers sort of learn some of the lessons, and you can apply them in games that are not like Dark Souls. People don't have to make a Soul-like in order to apply the lessons that Dark Souls teaches. I think that's actually something that people miss a lot of time. I think a lot of that world design and level design and mechanic interplay between mechanic and level design is not necessarily bound to the fighting style that Dark Souls has. It certainly marries really well, but it's not necessarily the only way to make it work. In any case, I rambled quite a bit, and this was probably more confused than what I meant it to be, and I really hope I didn't come off. I kind of wanted, I really wanted to apologize for that. Like, some parts of the DLCs, the second one, the Ring City, kind of broke me down, and it was literally just, I really like exploring, and the game basically made it impossible. Like, I really feel like that part with the stairs going down to the swamp, which, yay, another swamp area in a Soul game. That's something that I've never heard before. That area was just a disaster. Like, it was impossible to clean up. Like, it was just like enemies that curse you, gigantic enemies that are a mountain, that have a mountain of health, and the Ring Knights. I won't repeat on it. It's just like, that's kind of the part that I hated the most, and it was probably at the end of I think, if I remember correctly, it was at the end of a playthrough, so I was really tired by that point. So I kind of want to say sorry, because that was probably me going crazy on the recording, but I set out to record myself playing the game, and with no cuts or anything, so that's what you get. You get raw 100%, Paulo. But yeah, what to say? I mean, I think it's time to close it. Like, these games are absolutely phenomenal. If you know people, get them into these games, or show them let's plays, and if they like it, they'll get into this. They'll get into them by themselves. And really, I'm really looking forward to seeing what Front Software comes up with next. Hidetaka Miyazaki is the lead designer, is the director of the Soul series. He said that Front Software, he said that he's done working on the Souls games for now. Interpret that however you want. I feel like, there's always the reality of, as much as these are, I consider them pieces of art, like most video games are, I feel like they're probably going to continue making them, just because there's the financial argument of, right now everyone likes Dark Souls and it's very in the zeitgeist, so it wouldn't make any sense for them to stop doing that. I wish they did like a Demon Soul re-release of like PC, PS4 Demon Souls, like, keep the old game, keep all the jank that was in the old game, just redo the translation, I guess, and up-res the graphics and make it run at 60 FPS, and you're good to go. That would be phenomenal. But in any case, I'm curious to see what Front Software comes up next, because it's certainly going to be interesting. And if you've watched any of these series, you're crazy, but I guess thank you for sticking with me and my rambling so far. It's been really fun playing through these games. I really, from now on, I'm probably going to record all, if not all, most of the games that I'm going to play, just because I like to keep an archive of the games I played on YouTube. But yeah, thank you all for sharing this journey with me. And as usual, until then, I'll see you all next time. Bye.